Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Positive Proof Podcast. I'm your host, Parmis, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you want to listen to more episodes like this one on self-improvement, mindset, and wellness, go ahead and hit that follow button to join the family. Before I get into today's episode, I just want to ask you guys for a quick and kind favor, and that is if you haven't yet left a review, I would absolutely appreciate if you could do so. It helps so much to build this podcast and help it grow so that we can increase the positive impact we make and just overall make it a bigger community. Also, if you are looking for daily motivation, follow me on Instagram at Positive Proof Podcast, where I post daily quotes that serve as sweet daily reminders. And if anyone is wondering how to leave episode requests, you can actually send me your thoughts via the DM me your thoughts link in the description or via Instagram DM as well. Today's episode was requested by a lovely listener, and honestly, it's one I've lived through myself. We're going to be talking about how to start hobbies and make new friends as an adult, especially if you're introverted, socially anxious, or just feel like everyone already has their people. Because let's be real, once you're out of school and deep into work or routines, friendship starts feeling like this mysterious thing other people have figured out. You might even catch yourself thinking, is it just me? But spoiler, it's not just you. Making friends as an adult is one of the most universal yet unspoken challenges. Everyone's busy, everyone's protective of their time, and the casual let's hang out energy of your early 20s starts fading. But that doesn't mean you can't build connections again. It just means you have to do it differently. So in this episode, we're going to slow down and talk about what that actually looks like, from the reality of post-adult loneliness to redefining what hobbies mean, to finding a rhythm as an introvert, handling rejection, and finally creating a lifestyle that naturally attracts genuine connection. Before we dive in, quick poll check-in for those of you tuning in on Spotify. I want you to scroll down and vote which part of making new friends feels more intimidating lately. Is it showing up somewhere new or talking to new people, being consistent once you start, or all of the above? So scroll down and let me know. Starting with the post-adult loneliness problem. You know, no one really prepares you for how quiet adulthood can feel, because when you're younger, friendships just happen. You're in school, you're forced into group projects, you see the same faces every day, and connection is almost built into the structure of your life. But then adulthood hits, new jobs, different cities, busier schedules, and suddenly the opportunities for organic connection start shrinking without you even realizing it. You blink and all of a sudden you're that person scrolling through photos of friend groups on Instagram thinking, wait, did I miss my chance? It's really such a common feeling, especially for introverted or socially anxious people. And you're not weird for finding it hard to make friends as an adult. It's just that life stops doing the heavy lifting for you. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, friendships don't just fall into your lap anymore. You actually have to go out and build them. And that shift from automatic connection to intentional connection is something no one really teaches you how to do. The truth is, adult life can get lonely, not because we're bad at connecting, but because we're out of practice. We've become experts at productivity, independence, and self-sufficiency, but those same strengths can quietly isolate us. You might go from a full day of work calls and errands straight into your evening routine and realize you haven't had one real conversation all week. And then you mix that with social media. The loneliness gets louder. Everyone looks like they have their perfect circle of friends, their weekend plans, their laughter-filled brunches, and you're there wondering, where do I even start? But the thing is, most people are wondering the exact same thing. They're just not saying it out loud. Making new friends as an adult also comes with this added layer of self-consciousness. When you were a kid, walking up to someone and saying, "Want to play?" was normal. Now that same sentence as an adult feels terrifying. We overthink everything. Will they think I'm weird? Am I being too forward? What if they don't like me? And we end up talking ourselves out of even trying. But here's the mindset shift that really changes everything. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you're definitely not the only one feeling this way. The loneliness that you're experiencing doesn't mean you're bad at people. It means you've reached a stage of life where connection just looks different. And when you realize that, the pressure starts to soften. Making friends as an adult isn't about finding people who magically fit your vibe right away. It's about giving yourself permission to show up awkwardly, to start small, and to let relationships evolve naturally again. Because loneliness doesn't always mean you're isolated. Sometimes it's just your soul's gentle reminder that you're ready for more connection. It's that quiet voice saying, I miss belonging somewhere. And the good news, you can actually build that feeling again. Not by chasing the kind of friendships you've had before, but by creating new ones that align with who you are now. You've grown, your energy, your lifestyle, your boundaries, they're all different. So of course your friendships will be too. They might form slower or in unexpected ways, but that doesn't make them less meaningful. If anything, adult friendships are often deeper because they're built with intention. So if you've been feeling like connection is harder these days, you're not imagining it, but it's also not a dead end. You're just in a new chapter that requires a bit more courage and curiosity. And that's where hobbies come in, because they're not just activities anymore, they're bridges. So let's talk about how to redefine hobbies, not as achievements or side hustles, but as a way to rediscover joy, play, and belonging again. Now, let's be honest, somewhere along the way, we forgot how to play. As kids, we did things simply because they were fun. Painting with messy fingers, dancing with no rhythm, singing off key, spending hours building something that served absolutely no purpose, except that it made us happy. But when we grew up, that kind of joy starts to feel unproductive. And that's the problem. Adulthood tricks us into believing that every moment has to lead somewhere. If we pick up a hobby, we subconsciously feel like it needs to become a side hustle or at least be good enough to post about it online. We start asking questions like, am I good at this? Should I monetize this? Is this even worth my time? Instead of just letting ourselves enjoy the process. But hobbies aren't supposed to prove anything. They're supposed to remind you who you are outside of work, outside of your phone, outside of everyone else's expectations. They're where you get to exist just for you. And here's the thing, your hobby doesn't need to be impressive to be important. You can paint badly. You can garden once a month. You can crochet something that looks more like a blob than a blanket. The goal isn't mastery. It's presence. It's giving your brain something to focus on that doesn't involve pressure or performance. And when you start doing things for the sake of doing them, something really beautiful happens. Your mind relaxes. You stop overthinking. You stop measuring yourself against others. You start feeling like you again. And that's why I love the idea of micro hobbies. You don't need to commit to something big or expensive. Try one-off experiences that gives you small doses of curiosity, like a pottery class or a group hike or a local cooking night, or even just exploring a new coffee shop every weekend. It's really not about committing forever. It's about sampling life again. Think of it as dating hobbies. You're allowed to try, to be curious, and to walk away if it's not a fit. There's no pressure to be consistent or skilled. It's just about seeing what sparks something in you. And if you're someone who feels socially anxious or introverted, hobbies are actually the safest way to start connecting with others again because they take the spotlight off of you. When you're focused on a shared activity, the social pressure really melts away. You don't have to carry the whole conversation or impress anyone. You just show up, do the thing, and let connection happen naturally in the background. I think we forget that joy and belonging often live in those small, ordinary moments when, you're quietly laughing with someone over a failed cookie recipe or chatting about brushstrokes with a stranger in an art class. That's the kind of connection that fills your cup in ways scrolling never can. And maybe even more importantly, hobbies help you reconnect with yourself. When you're burnt out or stuck in autopilot or feeling detached from who you used to be, a simple hobby can reignite that spark. It gives you space to meet yourself again, not as the version that's hustling or striving, but as the version that's simply being. So if you've been waiting for a sign to start something new, this is it. Pick one small thing that sounds interesting, even if it makes no sense. Try it once. You might not fall in love with the hobby itself, but you might fall in love with how alive it makes you feel. Because when you stop doing things to prove your worth, you start finding the things that remind you of it. Now, in this next section, I want to talk about how to take that gentle curiosity and actually turn it into connection, especially if you're someone who gets drained by social settings or overthinks every interaction like me. So let's get into the introvert's guide to building real, sustainable social momentum. Now, so many people struggle with this, but rarely admit it. The exhaustion that comes from just thinking about socializing. If you're introverted or socially anxious, even the smallest plans can feel like a mental marathon. You start spiraling before you even get there, like, what do I wear? What do I say? What if it's awkward? What if I run out of things to talk about? It's almost funny how much energy we spend preparing for connections instead of just experiencing it. But here's the truth. Building social momentum doesn't mean forcing yourself to become an extrovert. It means finding ways to connect that actually work for you. For a lot of introverts, the idea of meeting people in loud bars or big parties, it feels impossible. And honestly, that's okay. You really don't need to start there. You can start small, gentle, and quiet. Go to places where conversations aren't the main event, like yoga classes or book clubs, community markets, art workshops. The beauty of these spaces is that they give you structure. You don't have to perform or fill every silence. You just have to show up and let things unfold naturally. The key here is consistency. When you show up to the same environment over and over again, the pressure slowly fades. You start seeing the same faces, recognizing people, maybe exchanging small smiles. And before you know it, the awkwardness turns into familiarity. That's how trust and friendships begin for a lot of introverts, through quiet repetition, not big conversations. And I think it's important to remind yourself that connection doesn't have to look loud or constant. Some of the most meaningful friendships, they grow slowly in spaces where you can just be together rather than constantly talk. Maybe that means a morning walking group, a pottery night where everyone's focused, or even a co-working cafe routine where you run into the same person every week. Social momentum isn't about being everywhere. It's about choosing one or two places and showing up often enough for people to remember your face. Now, if social anxiety kicks in, and it probably will, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It just means your brain is trying to protect you from uncertainty. You can thank it for trying to help, then gently remind yourself, I'm safe. This discomfort is not danger. It's just unfamiliar. Sometimes the most confident thing you can do is simply stay in that discomfort until it becomes less scary. Because every time you survive a moment of awkward silence or small talk that goes nowhere, your nervous system learns, oh, I can handle this. Another trick that helps is giving your mind a plan. Before walking into a new setting, come up with one small goal. Maybe it's to ask one person about their day, or to compliment someone, or to make eye contact and smile. That's it. You don't need to make a friend every time, really. You just need to practice being open, because those micro moments, they add up. And remember, social energy is like a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But it also needs rest. After you've pushed yourself socially, honor your recharge time. Don't label it as antisocial. It's just your way of refueling so you can show up fully next time. There's this misconception that making friends means constantly putting yourself out there, but in reality, it's about being intentional with where and how you show up. You can be selective and still be social. You can be introverted and still be magnetic. The goal isn't to be everywhere. It's to be present where you are. And slowly, as you keep showing up, those once strange faces become familiar. The small talk becomes inside jokes, and the spaces that once drained you start to feel like home. So in this next section, we're going to talk about something that still scares really almost everyone: rejection. That fear of awkwardness, of not being liked, of putting yourself out there and getting nothing back, and how, if you reframe it right, rejection can actually be one of the best things that ever happens to your confidence. And I want to be real for a second. No matter how old we get, rejection still stings. Whether it's a job you didn't get, a person who didn't text back, or a potential friend who didn't reciprocate the same energy, it hurts in the same way that it always has. We might be adults now, but our inner child still whispers, did I do something wrong? Was I not enough? And that's exactly why making new friends as an adult can feel so emotionally loaded. It's not just about meeting people, it's about facing all those buried insecurities that we thought we outgrew. But here's something that I've learned. Rejection isn't proof that you're unlikable. It's proof that you're participating. It means that you're out there, you're trying, you're opening yourself up to the possibility of connection. And that in itself is something to be proud of. Because we live in a world where everyone's guarded. Everyone's scared of being the one who cares more or who initiates first. So when you're the one who does, when you reach out or start the conversation or even suggest hanging out, you're actually doing something really, really brave. You're saying, I'm willing to risk a little bit of discomfort for the chance at something real. And yes, sometimes that risk, it won't pay off. Sometimes the energy won't be matched, or the vibe will be off, or you'll feel that subtle awkwardness that makes you want to crawl out of your skin. Like, I get it. But awkwardness doesn't mean you failed. It just means that you showed up. Awkwardness is just a sign that something new is happening, and new things are always uncomfortable at first. Think about it. The first time you worked out after a long break, your muscles ached. The first time you started a new job, your brain was overloaded. Social growth works the same exact way. That tension you feel in your chest after an awkward encounter, it isn't rejection, it's resistance training for your confidence. The more you experience it, the more resilient you become. You start realizing that not every connection has to click, and that's okay. Some people are meant to pass through your life and not stay. Some conversations are meant to be short, not deep. You can meet someone, sense that it's not your vibe, and still walk away with gratitude instead of disappointment. Because the truth is, rejection is information, right? It's really not an insult. It tells you what aligns and what doesn't, and where your energy is better spent. It's pretty much the universe's way of protecting your time from the wrong people, so you can recognize the right ones when they do appear. And I think a lot of us need to unlearn the idea that every social attempt should feel seamless or natural. It won't. You're going to fumble. You'll overshare sometimes. I do all the time, actually, and I always regret it after, but it's okay. It's a lesson learned every time, and I get better at it every time. Sometimes you're going to send a text and immediately regret how it sounded. I've done it too. You'll replay a conversation in your head thinking, why did I say that? Totally normal. Everyone does that. Everyone is awkward sometimes, even the people who seem effortlessly confident. The only difference is they've stopped seeing awkwardness as a flaw. They see it as a bridge, because awkwardness is often what opens the door to authenticity. It's the space where people drop the act and start being real. You really don't build real friendships by being perfect. You build them by being human, by saying, that was weird, right? And laughing about it. By admitting when you're nervous, by letting the other person see that you're not trying to impress them, you're just trying to connect. So instead of running from rejection or cringing at awkwardness, try thinking it. Every uncomfortable moment is proof that you are choosing growth over isolation, that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, not because you crave validation, but because you crave connection. And when you keep showing up that way, vulnerable, curious, and open, you'll start attracting people who meet you there too. The kind who see your effort, not your mistakes. And once you stop fearing those little moments of discomfort, you open yourself up to something way, way bigger, belonging. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. How to create a lifestyle that naturally attracts connection, that kind that feels sustainable, nourishing, and true to who you are. One of the biggest misconceptions about friendship is that it's something you have to chase. But real connection doesn't come from chasing. It comes from creating the kind of life that invites people in. You don't need to force yourself to go out every single weekend or fill your schedule with social events that drain you. All you need to do is make small adjustments that make connection easier to find, and more importantly, easier to sustain. So start with your rhythms. Think about the things you already love doing, like your morning coffee ritual or your workout routine or your weekend errands. Now, imagine how you can slightly shift those habits to make space for interaction. Maybe instead of grabbing coffee at the drive-thru, you start going to the same local cafe each morning. You'll start seeing familiar faces, the barista, the regulars, and even if it starts with a simple, "Hey, I like your outfit," those small exchanges start building a quiet sense of community. The same goes for hobbies and routines. Join a space that matches your energy, like a running club or a dance class or a volunteering group, even a co-working spot where you can occasionally talk to someone new. When you combine repetition with shared interests, connection happens almost organically. You're not forcing small talk, you're participating in something that already connects you. And if you're socially anxious, this is really key. You need to find structured environments. Situations where the focus isn't you, but the shared experience. That's what makes hobbies such a powerful bridge, because you don't have to think of what to say every second. The activity gives you something to connect over. But beyond all of that, one of the most underrated ways to attract connection is to create a life that feels really open. If your schedule, your body language, and your energy all say, "I'm too busy," people will believe you. But when you start slowing down and leaving room for conversation, like smiling at strangers or lingering after class just a few extra minutes, you create micro invitations for people to engage. You stop signaling, "Don't talk to me," and start radiating, "I'm approachable." And I get it. That can sound uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been hurt, ghosted, or let down before. But openness doesn't mean overextending yourself. It just means letting people see that there is room for them in your world. Connection also deepens when you're living in alignment. When you fill your life with things that genuinely light you up, like the hobbies, the routines, the spaces that make you feel alive, you start attracting people who are drawn to that same exact energy. It's like your presence becomes a magnet for kind spirits. You won't have to fake chemistry or pretend to fit in, because you'll already be operating from authenticity. And when you do meet people, remember, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Not every new connection has to turn into a lifelong friendship. Some people will become recurring coffee pals, some might be creative collaborators, others will drift in and out of your life, and that's okay. The point isn't to collect friends, it's to cultivate connection. Creating a connected life is really about balancing two things: solitude and social energy. You need both. Solitude is where you recharge and get to know yourself again, and social energy is where you express that self to the world. When you learn to flow between the two and to honor your need for peace while also keeping your heart open, that's when life starts to feel really full again. And here's the beautiful thing. The right people, they find you when you start living like you, not when you're performing, not when you're trying to impress. But when you're genuinely showing up as your most honest, curious, imperfect self, that's when people show up. That's when people find you. Because the truth is, friendship isn't about finding people who make you less lonely. It's about finding people who make you more yourself. So start small, keep showing up, and stay curious. And trust me, with time, consistency, and openness, the right friendships, the ones that feel light, easy, and real, they will find their way into your life naturally. And you know what's funny? We spend so much time wishing that life felt fuller. Yet most of the things that would make it fuller are small. Saying hi to the same person twice, joining that class even if you go alone, letting yourself do something just for fun without needing to be great at it. Because at the heart of it, this episode isn't really about hobbies or friendships. It's about coming back to aliveness. It's about remembering that you're still allowed to be curious and to meet people, or to try new things that make you feel awkward and alive at the same time. Making friends as an adult might take more effort, but it also comes with a lot more depth. You're not chasing proximity anymore. You're choosing connection that fits the person that you've become. So if this episode resonated with you, I hope you take it as a gentle reminder that it's never too late to start over, to build new routines, new memories, and new circles that feel safe, genuine, and fun again. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I want you to take a second and share it with someone who might need to hear this too. Maybe a friend who's been struggling to put themselves out there again, or maybe the future friend that you just haven't met yet. Keep choosing curiosity over comfort, because connection starts the moment that you do. To everyone who made it this far, I appreciate you so much, and I can't wait to chat with you again in next week's episode. Lots of love, Parmis.